I'm David Gadarian, and welcome to The Flip Story. This is the show where we look at the intersection of human potential and market creation, not through the polished lens, but rather through the actual grit it takes to build something real. Often, the most interesting things in life usually get built when the timing is terrible and the odds are completely stacked against you. Today's guest is a perfect example of what happens when you stop waiting for a rescue and you just start building. Hadley Nightingale is the CEO of New Zealand Property Buyers. Today, he runs a fully remote team, 13 people across New Zealand and Southeast Asia, but the road to get there was not exactly a straight line. Hadley, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, David. Looking forward to the conversation. And no, it definitely wasn't a straight line, that's for sure.
Well, we're going to get into it. I think you're really a great guest to have on the show, albeit still, I think you got a few flips in front of you, but you've certainly lived a couple already. So it's going to be exciting to kind of go through it all. So I guess maybe the best place to start is right here, right now, and then we'll work kind of backwards. So maybe if you could just give us a couple minutes on what you're up to. What is your kind of, I guess it's Tuesday, right? What does Tuesday look for Hadley? And we'll just kind of work our way backward from there.
Yeah, cool. I suppose now I'm sort of best known for property investing, or the sort of property investing guy in New Zealand to a degree, but it obviously always hasn't been like that. As you mentioned before, we've now built a team of 13 people. We operate remotely across Southeast Asia as well as New Zealand, but it wasn't always like that. 2008 took its toll on me, probably like a number of other people. I've had gone through a separation, worked my way through the court system, and build ourselves back up to where it was. And we're just really on a mission to help investors not make the same mistakes that I previously had. And that's sort of the company's main goal and mission, is to reduce the risk and complexity of property investing without doing it alone.
Love it. All right, so let's, I guess, take it a step back if we could. So where are you dialing in from?
Sorry?
Where are you dialing in from? Where are you from?
I'm from New Zealand.
Okay, that's where you grew up?
Auckland. Grew up in about 2 hours north of Auckland, and moved down here in the last couple of years as part of a shift.
College?
No, left school at... If I had it my way, I would have left school at 15. But I ended up cracking a bit of a deal with my mum that I had to wait until I'd finished my second to last year of school. It was a bit of a crazy deal. Now that I look back at it, she's like, "If you pass, you can leave." And so I was like, okay. Now I look back and go, well, it would have been a wasted year if I hadn't passed, because I just would have got myself into mischief, I think.
Right. That's amazing. So what, that sets you up at what, like 17? You finished school? More or less?
Finished up school 17, went dairy farming, or went to ag college, wanted to learn how to become a farmer, and so I set off and did that. And it was interesting that the careers advisor at the time said to me, look, only idiots go farming. Don't go and do that. You need to go off and go to university and do those types of things. So glad I didn't listen to her, that's for sure.
What were you from a farming family, or what was the logic there?
Always been somewhere that's been rural, semi-rural, the whole time through. So it was just more so a continuation of that. I've always had a love for land and for agriculture and that type of thing. So it just sort of seemed to have fit in well, and that's sort of the industry that my parents are, or my dad's in. And so it's just sort of, I think, flowed through the genes as we've gone through the years.
So you were directionally in there. Okay, so let's get into around, it sounds like at 2006. This seems absolutely crazy to me.
It was mental. It was around the time that, obviously, if you could fog a mirror, the banks would give you some money. So what they saw in a 19, 20-year-old kid to give me the size mortgage that they did at the time is there's no way that it had happened today. Not a snowball's chance. that they'd lend me the money that they did. But at the time, they're like, hey, look, here's some money. Oh, you probably need some more, so we'll give you an overdraft as well, and good luck to you.
Okay. So you got some money and you have overdraft protection. Sounds like probably another six figures rolling in there
Yeah,
of potential.
yeah.
And so what was the deal that you did here? What
Yeah,
happened?
so well, because I was farming at the time, it was like everyone, if you're going to go farming, you need to get a runoff block to grow some smaller cattle, so you can build yourself up a herd, and that in
Right.
New Zealand is like the best way to get into like dairy farming or further up the ladder. Is like once you've got a herd of dairy cattle, then you're on your way. So that was my thought, was like, well, I don't want to pay someone to lease it, and the stories were going around that they're not producing any more land. If you don't get in now, you're never going to get in. Prices are never going to be this cheap.
Right.
And so I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. And so we got into that, and then obviously the market turned. We made some bad decisions, and my philosophy on dairy farming changed. Thereafter.
Right. They saw you coming.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. And just out of curiosity, you're 19, you're going on this journey. What made you feel like you could do this? This is like most 19-year-olds, even if, okay, you breathe into a mirror and, there's a little bit of fog, they'll give you a loan.
Yeah.
Most 19-year-olds still aren't doing that.
I think it was probably my own ego, my naivety of how simple life and things could be, and was like, right, cool, this is just me getting myself ahead, doing my thing.
Right.
So probably a combination of those two. It wasn't particularly well thought out.
All right. So you weren't like one of these like 16 to 19-year-olds, like hardcore studying money and strategies and how to make money. This just kind of happened for you.
Yeah, no, I wasn't hardcore studying that. It was just more so a case of like, hey, look, people I know have done well out of out of buying land. So surely that's what you do. And as I say, my own naivety got the better of me.
Right. All right. So that doesn't work out. What happens? How does this little chapter come to a conclusion now?
Yeah. So basically, what happened was that we made some other bad business decisions around some crops and things like that, and just some basic stuff now that I look back on and go, well, look, there was no contracts in place, and stuff that should, like a maize crop that should have sold for $80,000 sold for $20,000, and it was more than what it cost to put the crop in and things like that. So then my philosophy changed to like, right, I've got to go to Australia. I've got to go somewhere that's going to pay me more money than what they're paying me here.
Okay.
And if I can just work some more hours, then that's going to dig me out of where I am. So I then went driving long haul trucks over there to just keep turning the wheels, keep making the money to try and pay for this mistake.
So is this like a bitter moment, or was this a rebuild kind of moment in your life?
No, I look at this and I go like, I lost my 20s doing it. Was like basically all I did my entire 20s was drive trucks, go.
Yeah.
I ended up at mining, running mining crews, and had no life at all other than how do I make another dollar to pay for this mistake that I've made. And then come 2016 or started 2016 when I came back to New Zealand, was like a case of back breaking even and having to restart, rebuild, and go from there.
Super motivated at this point, or was it still kind of like a little bit gun shy?
No, I was motivated because that over that time, like things like audiobooks had become more and more prevalent. I'm just trying to think. I think it was like iTunes. Spotify wasn't out at that time.
Right.
I don't think Spotify was out, but it was like you could still download like Rich Dad Poor Dad, Jim Rohn,
Right.
Zig Ziglar, and so basically I just used to spend my days listening to those guys going, for things to get better, I've got to get better. And for things to change, I've got to change. And so it was more so a thing of that, of like, right, I've made some really average decisions. A lot of people make money in real estate. I've just got to find the right people that are going to show me how to do things rather than the approach that I'd taken at the start, which was, as you say, gun ho, didn't have the right people in our corner, and we would just go for it, hope for the best, and hope's not a strategy. I learned out the back of that.
Right. That's a lesson learned for sure.
100%.
All right. So you kind of fast forward now a little in the next couple of years. We're at 16 to around 20. Have you cracked what you're about to do yet, or was this like a period of discovery and trying a few different kind of real estate plays?
Yeah. So that was like 19 to 30, and then once I got to my 30s, then it was a case of like we started to crack it. Myself and my former partner had bought a couple of properties. We'd done a flip, and then we had started to buy some more property as well as we went along. So we went and got some
Yeah.
mentoring, got some
Yep.
help, and got some direction around how we should do things. And then that's when things started to change for us once we got the help and the direction, rather than it's like the Kiwi do it yourself attitude. Go and get some help, pay some people because it'll save you a lot of money.
Right. Was this buildings or was this still land deals?
No, this was all residential, so just single family homes. And then we converted a couple of single family homes into multi-family homes. And renovation projects just got a bit bigger and things like that. And so that which is where we sort of land ourselves now.
All right. So you have like a pretty unique angle on this because, once bitten, twice shy, but it seems like a big part of your business now is you're doing this for others as well, and
Yeah.
that you're enabling others to be, I think I looked at, to be the buyer agent to help and negotiate on their behalf.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that more so formed back when I started buying property for the second time, where
Yeah.
we'd like go to open homes and we'd had some help, we'd had some coaching, we had some training, we understood what we needed to be looking for. And then like you go to open homes or viewings and you'd see people that would tell a real estate agent way too much. They would go and offer stupid prices or look at things without looking at comparable sales and stuff that was super simple to me once I'd understood it, that I had no idea about previously. And so it was like, well, there's got to be a demand and a market here for this. So it was sort of 2017 when I was doing a little bit of it, and then sort of things properly got serious in like 2021.
Okay. And so that's kind of post-COVID was like kind of the next big piece. I don't know what COVID looked like in New Zealand, but certainly it was pretty aggressive lockdown in the States.
Yeah, no, we had very, very aggressive lockdown. So the first time that lockdown came around, I just resigned from the real estate company that I was working with at the time because I was going to go and do my own thing. And then like 3 days later, the lockdown happened. So yeah, that was like March, maybe. I can't remember the exact dates, but it was like March. And then 6 months later, August, we finally managed to get things up and running.
I want to ask you a question here because you have like kind of you're relatively young. You've had a couple of big moments in your life that have been seemingly bookended by other kind of macro moments, right? We had the '08 crash, which I'm sure didn't help you with your first kind of go around, and COVID here, which I'm gathering served as a bit of a slingshot for you because you had already kind of given notice. So it was like now your pace of innovation had to go a lot faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had no choice.
So here's a question for you. Market timing the market, making your own market.
I think a big part of its time in the market is really what it comes down to. Buying well regardless of what the market's doing. I think one of the biggest things where people get themselves caught up is like, I'm going to wait for this to happen. The market's not right. I don't feel right. Uh, the difference. So if I go back to the 2008 scenario, if I had a proper plan in place,
Yep.
that all would have worked out okay. Because I also bought. We had a property market pullback here at the end of 2021, and summer prices have come back like 25%. We bought a house on the 10th of November, and the lending rules and a whole lot of other stuff changed on the 11th, and property prices pulled back from then.
Yep.
But the house we bought is now worth more than what it was when we did a small renovation. But it's now worth more than what it was when we purchased the place. But everyone else has gone backwards that would have bought, on that day. So it's really important that preparation, the time in the market, and just buying, when you've got whatever you've got in front of you with a plan, that if the market goes up, down, or sideways, you can do something with it.
Okay. I can buy that. And I think you have another lesson of like fast hyper growth here of the past 2021 to somewhere in where you kind of grew maybe too fast, too diverse a business, and you had to refocus.
Yeah. So that was sort of 2023, 24. I learned that skyrockets don't continue forever.
Okay,
And
fair.
we had a bit of growth like this, and then it generally tends to take a bit of a dive off the end because your systems can't keep up, people can't
Right.
keep up, and when you grow that fast, cash flow generally tends to become an issue. You're bringing in a whole lot of money, but you're also burning it to get yourself, through the weeks.
Right. Real
The
estate's
other
pretty
thing.
cash intense.
Yeah, very much so. We're trying to hire people, and you're trying to stay in front of the curve, and it's quite stressful. The other part that we did too, that like it's a blessing now, but foolishly at the time was like I had a client that said to me, "Hey, look, can you also start look after my properties and start a property management company?"
Right.
And then I've also got some projects as well. So if you could be project managers, then that'd be great. And I'll pay you for that too. So I thought, right, cool. If I can get three businesses that do 330 grand each, and I had $1 million and life's good.
Yeah.
It's the common thing with like founders that are, I'll call them ADHD founders that are like, right, shiny object, shiny object, shiny object. Let's do this, this, and this. And
Right.
it really comes down to, focus on one thing until successful, as opposed to trying to get a whole lot of different things to do a couple of $100,000 each, try and make the money that they're looking for, because it just doesn't happen.
Right. And all right, so let's just stay right there. So you're in the middle of that, super stressful, or when you come to that realization, like relief, or you still have to do some digging to recover?
No, we were okay. We've been okay the whole way through. There's been
Yeah.
some very tight moments in it. But I suppose being as resourceful as what I am, I always tend to find a way to make things work and get through it. So my wife tends to look at the bank balance and look at things and go, hey, look, this is getting a bit tight, or this isn't quite right. And I'm more the one to go, it's fine, there'll be some more money coming in next week.
Right. It's just having that moment of kind of triple growth of 3 money streams, and then being able to recognize, no, wait a minute, slow down, having that clarity of going back to one. Was that like a hard thing for you, or was that pretty easy? Like once you made that decision, it was like, boom, we've now decided we're back to one.
So we've still got all three.
Oh, you still have all three. Okay.
Yeah, so we have all three. We've soldiered on through it. But the issue that you have is, as I was saying before, with the cash flow side of things, and we're at a point now where 2 out of 3 of them are good. We've got a time frame on the other one. So like that, but the issue that you have is that one's really profitable, one
Right.
goes okay, and the other one sucks all the profit back out of the
Right.
business. And so 2 out of 3 are pretty good. One's exceptional. But that's just generally tends to be how the law of averages go with the stuff that I've now learned further down the track. And so yeah, the trimming decision is going to be a hard one if we have to do it. But
Right.
we've just got to. It's just a decision, a business decision that's going to have to be made. So it really comes down to like, how do you get it profitable now that we're at the size that we are, that we can carry everything and we've got the systems behind it.
Yeah, headcount of 13 is not insignificant for what you're doing. That's a lot of footwork.
Yeah.
Right. So I think as you just kind of looking at, your run here of kind of the 19-year-old to now, how much emphasis do you put on this idea of I don't know, I guess how much emphasis do you put on having trust versus having contract, having empathy for your customers, and I guess even for the sellers to some extent, or is it just you're buyer only and that's good enough? I'm just kind of curious because you've had like a lot of folks will stay in a space, will get into a space, they'll get burnt, and they'll be like, I'm never touching that again.
Yeah.
So what's the appeal? What's going on in your head at this point?
I mean, I think that the thing with it is really that self-reflection, and who's the only person you can blame for where you are in your life is you, because you're the one that's been there the whole time. And so the ups, the downs, the decisions that have been made, it's you're a part of it. And so it really comes down to a thing for me of like, how do we get better? How do we improve? If something's not working, other people in the world are doing the thing that I want to do. But there's just somewhere that I've got to get better to do it. And I suppose that's where that comes from, is like reflecting, looking at the mistakes and thinking, how do we get better? As opposed to going, well, this doesn't work, it's rubbish. It wasn't my fault, and taking the victim mentality on the whole thing.
All right, I can buy that. All right, so I do have a kind of final question as we get into the closeout here. Not even a question, just a request. We have a segment on the show called the Flip Story Recipe Book, and we invite all our guests to share something. It could be a know-how, it could be a how-to, it could be a mentality, a method, a mindset. And the idea is, others can kind of say, wow, I'm confronted with something similar, and I'm just going to take that page out of the book and apply it. So, Hadley, I'd love to invite you to share.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me, the part that we haven't talked about or I haven't really mentioned, is the separation of the court, that battle that we've also been going through for the last 8 years, that's still ongoing with finance and property and stuff like that. But that's probably been the biggest lesson moving forward, is control what you can control. And don't worry about the rest, because the rest sorts itself out. Now, that took me about 3.5 years to realize, going through the court system, thinking that the issues that I had were urgent and everything was going to be, happen quickly and things were going to get resolved and everything was a fire.
Right.
But what I began to realize was that, what are the things that I can control, and I can keep putting my life on hold and go, well, once this happens in the courts, then I'll be able to do this. When this happens, I'll be able to go and do that. And so you end up delaying things in the hope that something else is going to happen that you have no control over. And so, because I mean, like for me, it's been 8 years, and I've been saying every year for the last 7 years, it'll be over by the end of the year. It'll be finished by the end of the year. When we get to point X, then it'll be over and I can go off and do this. And it got to the point where it was like, well, who knows? It's been 3 years. It might be another 3. So what are the things that I can do to make sure my life continues? And
Right.
whatever else is going on, or that I have no physical control over, can go and boil away and do its thing on the side. But if I hadn't taken that approach and that look at things, then I still wouldn't have a business, still be living in the same place that we were living in. We wouldn't have moved forward, because in my mind it was, I can't do anything until the system allows me to. I can't do anything until some external thing changes. And I think that's the important thing, is like, focus on what you can control. go off in the direction that you want to go off, and the uncontrollable things will pan themselves out, because at the end of the day, regardless of what you do, there's going to be nothing that you can physically do to speed that up.
I love it. That's a good piece of that's a good recipe. Very good. All right, my friend. Well, how do people find you?
Best place on Instagram, at Hadley Nightingale. Follow us along there. If want to have a conversation, queries, questions, that's the best place to do it.
All right. And just out of curiosity, as far as the business of Hadley Nightingale, New Zealand,
New Zealand
Australia
property
too,
buyers.
or is it still?
No, just New Zealand.
All right. All right. Amazing. Well, I want to just say thanks for coming on the show. This was a
Thanks,
neat
Ed.
interview. You got a lot of story in front of you. That much I can tell for sure. And
Thank you.
I'm excited to see what the future holds for you. But you're killing it right now, and I certainly appreciate you sharing some of your flips that you've already experienced. There's what I've seen is that there's some folks who, if they start flipping soon enough with enough velocity, they tend to keep doing it. And you might just be one of those people. So exciting.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, folks. So we're going to wrap it out here. We'll see you on the next one. Bye now.